Hi, good afternoon, Daniel.
Hello.
Good
Yes, and
afternoon.
welcome to our KreARTif interview session.
Sorry.
Okay.
No, don't worry.
That's
We
Don't
cool.
worry about
appreciate that home environment.
Yeah.
exactly what we're targeting
Yeah, it,
for.
it gives us this kind of feel of like quarantine and lockdown, and so I hope you're doing well during this CMCO period, I assume, right?
Yeah, it's strange, again, obviously, but
Again.
yeah, just very strange again to be in this situation, but it's not so bad. It's kind
Yeah.
of nice to be able to sit down again and just relax, I guess.
Well, we all need our time alone, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start the interview. Adam, I'm sure that you have some questions you'd like to ask to our esteemed guest today.
Yes, we have a list of questions. So I'm gonna start with the first one, Daniel. So, where does your inspiration come from? Like
Um,
pursuing this.
okay, that's like I don't know where to start with that one because obviously like it comes from a very wide variety of things, I think. So basically, I actually had a Malay tutor, I think 2 months ago, because I was trying to brush up on my Malay. My Malay is terrible. And he was just saying, like, oh, you're a photographer, like, where'd you get your inspiration from? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I could be walking down the street, I could see a tree. Um, and I could look at the tree, see the colors, but then also see the way the tree moves and see how I can interpret like the way it moves into a metaphor, into an image to represent nature or something like that. And he was like, oh, I literally just walk down the street, see a tree, and I see a tree, you know. So I think it's like a variety of things. I could be walking down the street, I could see things like that, or um it really comes from like my surroundings and my environment. um I realized that during MCO, I was not very inspired just because I was in one environment the whole time. And
Mm.
even though I do have like the internet and I can go through thousands of pages of inspiration on Pinterest and Instagram, like my surroundings were still the same. So it was a very stagnant situation. And I don't think I thrive very well in stagnant situations. Um, I'm able to thrive more in just the constant change around me. And I think that's where a lot of my inspiration comes from, just having a variety of conversations with different people and meeting people and understanding different cultures and figuring out like just different aspects of stuff around me. I think that's where the main inspiration does come from. Yeah,
So, are you saying like this CMCO would be unhealthy for you for your work?
definitely, yes. I think this
Sorry
year
to
has
hear
not
about
been
that.
great for like to inspire me at all. I think a lot of my inspiration does come when I go overseas, and I usually go overseas quite often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but it's okay, it's not so bad. I guess it's a time to just kind of sit back and relax because the past couple of years has been quite intense. Um, but I also have a lot of client work that I need to finish, so I don't really need
That's
to be inspired
true.
right
Yeah,
now.
That's
yeah. I
true. I
mean,
understand. I understand that. All right. So the following one. So, how did you get started in this industry?
I don't really know because it's like a very blurred line, to be
oh,
honest. I think
okay.
when I was younger, okay, fine. If I were to put it properly, like I think it was a very slow process.
Mm.
Um, because when I was younger, I was already taking photos since I was like
Ah,
15. And I think I kind of slowly built up my repertoire with like my school, and my obviously like my parents' friends and like people in school, and they would hire me for shoots, like little portrait shoots and stuff like that. So I think it kind of snowballed from there. Um, but then I came back from uni in 2017 and I got back, and I think I kind of used those same connections to kind of go out and do all of that. So a lot of it was very self-initiated. Um, I also started working for APW in Bangsa, and that honestly
hmm.
helped me huge amounts with networking and contacts and stuff like that. So it was a lot of me going to events, me going to yeah. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that the timeline is kind of skewed because it's like I was here for a couple of years and then I went away and I came back for a few years. So I don't really know when I joined the
Hmm.
industry.
Mm-hmm,
If I
mm-hmm.
were to professionally on a full-time basis, maybe 2017.
Okay.
I see.
But yeah, and then if I am talking about 2017, then I'm talking about me going to events all the time. I would go to clubs all the time. I would go to parties, and I'd be constantly doing that. But it was technically work because I'm still networking with people. I'm still going to all these
Yeah.
places.
That's true.
So
Yep.
basically, it's networking sessions, and some of the best places you said were club and then the parties and everything.
Parties.
No, definitely, yeah. So I go to all these like clubs and parties, and
Yeah, and I feel like people should really know about that because I'm sure that there's this personal stigma that, oh, going to clubs and
Yeah.
parties, that's not really good. But apparently it worked for you,
Exactly.
right?
It worked for you, right?
it worked so well. The amount of people that I
Oh.
met, obviously, a lot of people I met in my generation, um, that helped a lot. I think it's just I'm also a bit of I'm very shy. Like I'm an extrovert, but I'm also very shy. So I would go to these parties like enough times to end up talking to people that I need to talk to without having to properly introduce myself. So I'd meet someone else, and then they'd introduce me to someone else, and they'd introduce me to someone else, and they'd introduce me to someone else, and they'd be like, "Oh,
I
yeah, I've seen you
see.
so many times here. Like, what are you doing
Yeah,
here?"
yeah.
Without me having to go out and be like, "Hi, I'm this person." I hate doing that. I think I managed to figure out a thing that worked for me, which is
Yeah.
good. But yeah, I think it was a lot of me going to events and reaching out to people on Instagram and collaborating with artists and collaborating with influencers and blah blah blah, and it kind of snowballed from there, I think. But then again, I also had connections from my parents and my like previous school, like the kids there who knew me, and they're all in the industry now, and they would hire me and stuff like that. So
Alright.
there is a certain level of like that privilege that I had, because people already knew who I was and what my work was like. So yeah, I think that
But it all comes back to your personal attachment with the camera, right? You were saying
Exactly.
that since you were back in school, you were holding a camera and just capturing all the way.
definitely all the time. I would have my camera like 24/7 in school. I think I was known as that person. I would go to every like birthday with a camera, and sometimes I would just get so fed up of taking the photos that I would just pass the camera around and be like, take your own photos, and then I get the camera back at the end of the night, and then go home and edit everything and be like, oh my god, this is so cool. So I think I just ended up being known as that guy with the camera.
So you started off with like a high quality camera or DSLR or just like a phone you started off, or just like, you know how back then we have like those digital cameras?
Yeah, I think I started with a small digital compact camera when I was in year 5. But then I lost it.
Ooh,
I know, sad.
that's a
Someone
tough
took it
blow.
back. I know. And then I think I got to year 9 or year 8 or year 9, and I was like, Mom, Dad, please, I want a camera again. I miss taking photos, blah, 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 blah. So they were like, okay, yeah, sure, but you have to pay half for it. So I saved up and split half of them. Got this Canon 550D, it's like super beginner entry level camera.
All right.
And that really helped. I started taking photos of like everything and anything and all my friends, and we just have these little cute little photo shoots and stuff. And it was just a lot of practice and trial and error. And I mean, the photos are fucking terrible. But you know, you got to start somewhere, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
You
So I
used
think
to somewhere.
progressed. Yeah, no, exactly. But then again, like I also started when I was like in year 8, and when I was in year 8, I was 2008, so that was like 12 years ago. So we didn't have these like mirrorless cameras and you know, the really smaller, the compact cameras and stuff. We had those small digital compact cameras, but we didn't have the DSLRs that looked like compact. I don't know how to describe it. I just don't use them. But yeah, we didn't have those, so I had to go with the DSLR. So it was more of like a compact camera to a DSLR, and I didn't have anything in between. Whereas now there's so much variety of what to use and what to choose from to use, which is great. So that it's like more accessible to everyone.
It's a good time for people to join photography with all the variety of cameras out there.
Yeah.
It's a good time for people to learn technology nowadays, I feel.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
there's
actually.
plenty of things to like,
Right?
to
I
use.
mean, I'm terrible at technology. I just found out how to like create a Zoom meeting. So
Oh, don't
Zoom,
worry.
like, you know.
No worry,
Yeah,
we're just lucky
only
that
for
we're
our
students.
campaign. Only for our campaign did I start to learn creating a Zoom meeting.
Oh, really? Yeah.
All right, the following question. So, how do you respond to the people who, don't believe in making a career as a photographer? Like, it's kind of like a stigma, as well as like in my family. Like, I guess like being a photographer is like not enough. It's like more of like a side job. That's what people see. So, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I have friends who aspire to become a photographer, and their relatives always assume it with like journalism or events rather than art. But you've made it like completely a different
Yeah.
thing. It's a unique approach to your photo shoots. Is just close to a genius, if I would say. So, as an accomplished photographer, how do you respond to that?
Thank you. That's very nice. I don't know. I think that it's obviously like super hard. I think the creative industry now is just very difficult because
Mm,
there's a lot of people doing a lot of things. But then again, I came back from the UK because I could have stayed there and I could have worked there, but my mentality at the time was, oh, there's so many people there at the moment and it's so saturated. Why don't I come home and I enter an industry where there's so many points that I can like intercept myself into?
right.
Because the arts industry here is still growing, and it's a good time to be in the arts industry here because it is growing and there is more funding being put into it, and the people are becoming a bit more adventurous with things.
Hmm.
Not as adventurous as I want it to be, but they are becoming more adventurous and wanting to do new things. So there are outlets, so there are little pockets where you can intercept yourself into. Um, it wasn't easier. It's not easier per se, but I thought that there will be more opportunities for me
Yeah,
to exploit
yeah,
in
definitely.
Malaysia.
Yeah.
I think with people saying that it should be a side career or whatever, I don't know how to tell them what to tell them because for me I've straight jumped into becoming a freelancer,
Hmm.
and not a lot of people do that. Like a lot of artists have a second job. I don't have a second job. Well, I did last year, but it wasn't like I was in a studio working for someone as a photographer and then having my own freelance stuff. It was me doing social media management for a company and doing events, and then me doing my freelance on the side. So yeah, sure, the networking was great and it kind of like intertwined and everything,
Hmm.
but it was two completely separate jobs that I had to think about. And that's what a lot of artists do at the moment, I think. That's what a lot of the artists do. Like a lot of the singers that I know, they all have like barista jobs, so they all have this and that.
Yeah.
Just make ends meet. And because obviously COVID, it's super hard.
Hmm.
But what I did was like okay, backtrack a bit. Okay, so what I think what a lot of people do is that they go in and they shadow a photographer or they work for a studio and then they become a freelance after that, which is not what I did. I did two random jobs, one being a photographer and a job, and then I went to being a freelance. So I didn't have any help from my previous job in becoming a photographer. That's what I mean. So I think like the way I did it was a bit different, and I wouldn't encourage other people to do that because it's so much work. It is so much fucking work. Just having to network every weekend and going out and doing. I mean, I enjoy networking, enjoy meeting new people, but it was just a lot of work, and I didn't realize how much I burnt myself out until COVID happened, and I
Mm.
sat down and I was like, "Oh my god!" I looked at my schedule from the previous year, and I was like, "What? How was I going out every single weekend and meeting new people and trying to create vlogs and trying to create as much content as possible that would like help me get exposure and blah blah
Yeah,
blah blah
yeah.
blah."
So
So I
like
was.
that's cool. So at first you view it as more of like it seems like a routine to you, but after you sat down, you had the chance to look at your schedule. You're just like, whoa, how
Yeah,
am I doing this? Oh,
yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. I was doing like personal projects on the weekend. I was working my job on the weekdays, and I was doing freelance work as well on the weekends, weekdays, and I don't know, going to seminars and going to and doing networking every weekend and going to
holy
events.
crap,
It was
dude.
just a lot. Um, so I would say it is possible to become a photographer, especially in this day and age. The Like if you work hard enough, then going to get like a good salary, you know.
Mhm.
Obviously as a freelancer it's not a stable salary, but if you're good with your, I mean, anyone can be good with their finances and kind of like work well if they
Right.
are good, like if they manage everything properly, like it's
It all
fine.
comes back to them, basically, right?
Yeah.
You can get large
That's what
sums of money and you can't really manage it well, and then it'll go away just like that.
Yeah. Well, obviously, this is coming from someone with with privilege. Obviously, like I grown up in a good life. You know,
Oh,
my
okay.
dad did. You know, my parents supported me. I went to uni. I didn't have to pay for it, and obviously, that is not what everyone's life is like.
Right.
So what I'm saying is from my own experience, and I can't speak for everyone else. Um, so when I say that if you manage your finances properly, like you'll be fine. Because that's not the case for a lot of people, because a lot of people have other expenses that I won't have. Um, so I think it does come boil down to just a lot of hard work, and it is possible to be a photographer, you know, and
Yeah.
make a good career out of it. I think you just need to find your like style and make sure that that's like super what is that word,
Like their uniqueness, it's something like
yeah,
that.
like super unique to you, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that when you put your work out, people can be like, okay, it's this person. I want to be able to work with this person because of what
Yeah.
they do.
Basically, just show your work to your parents and be like, "This is gonna make money, you guys. Trust me."
Yeah. But then again, I also had such supportive parents who they like pushed me to go to uni for photography, and they
Mm-mm.
wanted the best education for me and blah, 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 blah. And I don't know. It's hard to like give advice in general when I know that not everyone has had the same upbringing and background as me.
Right. It's different for
Um,
Right.
everyone.
yeah, it's different for everyone. So it's I need to always keep that in mind. Just to like, I listen to a lot of people talk who do come from like privileged backgrounds, and you know they're like, oh, it's fine, you know, it's so easy to do this, I can get into this, you know, I went to this place and that place, and I was like, yeah, but you came from privilege, and you need to acknowledge that, because not everyone has that same you know, that same situation that you
Yes.
have been
Yeah.
or are in a moment.
Yeah.
So I definitely need to acknowledge the fact that I have had some sort of privilege, and that not everyone will be able to do the things that I have been able to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I still think it, no matter what background you come from, I still think it is possible to work hard and learn. And obviously, like if you're a passionate person in photography and you're willing to learn and you're willing to like take advice from people, then you will be able to create a really good career for yourself in photography and kind of like, or even in the arts world in general. I think
Yeah.
in the industry in general.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, that was so long-winded. I don't know if like I just kept going in and out. I
Don't
don't
worry
Yeah,
know.
about
it's
it.
all
We,
right.
we,
It's
we
good.
like
Yeah.
listening to like professionals go on about their lives because it gives us a better insight to who you are and what the industry could be. And what I'm
Yes,
getting from you
exactly.
is the reason you came back from UK is because you think, oh, Malaysia, there's still a lot of opportunities to be discovered and explored. So
Yeah.
what I think that the current generation should appreciate is in Malaysia, especially, that your chance is still out there. There's still a possibility that you can make it big. And thanks to our lovely guest Daniel here, he's paved the way for you guys to be like, oh, there is a career as a photographer, and you can be appreciated. But I gotta ask, man, how competitive is it in the field of photography?
Um, quite. I think I would say quite. Um, I don't know, because obviously now it's COVID and the competition is a lot higher.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, obviously if you were talking to me about this last year, I would
Mm-hmm.
have said something a bit different. But I think now it is very competitive, especially with. Sorry, my WhatsApp tab is open and you keep hearing like little notifications.
Oh, don't worry
Um,
about it.
okay. I think with COVID, it is a lot more competitive
Mm-hmm.
because companies are cutting their budgets and and a lot of agencies are doing everything in house.
Yeah.
They're not hiring outside. They're not hiring production houses. I mean, they're hiring production houses rather than
not-
hiring freelancers and stuff.
Yes, yeah.
Or doing everything just in-house in general just to save costs. So I think, and especially now, like especially with like no events and things start getting cancelled quite a lot. So I think it is very competitive at the moment, and a lot of photographers, especially the young photographers who are just starting out, a lot of them are completely undercutting the market and charging super low, which is ruining the market rate. I'm not throwing any shade. I'm just saying that don't undersell yourself. I think you should stick to, like, even if you're a beginner, learn from your mentors or like get advice from your mentors or find someone to be a mentor, and understand what the market rate is and understand what like photographers are charging or where you can charge with your skill set, or learn from a photographer and assist a photographer, and then just don't undercharge because you're ruining it for the rest of everyone else. I mean, you're ruining it for everyone else. So I do think that because of that, it is also a lot more competitive, and there's a lot more competitive pricing now. And yeah, just companies are using that to their advantage. So it just increases the whole competitiveness, I think. But like, yeah, to be honest, like I haven't been getting like as many client things as I was last year, which I'm fine with because I'm doing a lot more self-initiated things, or self-initiated projects, self-initiated shoots. So it's like it's a kind of a weird balance at the moment. But there's other photographers I know who are shooting so much for certain companies, but they're also linked to specific companies. And there's other photographers who I know that aren't getting anything at all. So it's kind of like a weird time at the moment. I think everyone's like super competitive and super worried. I know photographers who are like based at specific companies and they're shooting all the time, but I know other photographers who aren't getting anything at all. So I think at this point in time, it's just super uncertain. And obviously competitiveness has risen, but there's nothing really you can do about it. Yeah.
It happens to all the industries. So you're saying that photography is no different because competition is competition. We got to get that money.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
I mean, like, if you have the X factor, it's there. You can't lie. Talent, it's straight up there. So
I guess in a way, if you're talented and you're willing to work for it, I think you'll be able to pull through, which is great. And I think myself and like a lot of other photographers that I know out there, everyone's trying to figure everything out, So I think everyone's kind of doing the best that they can at the moment.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I feel like aside from hard work and talent, a lot of things you said were pivoting around networking, because you said that a lot of the photographers that are getting projects, they're linked to these production houses and these companies. So with that being said, do you have any communities in mind that you would recommend to people who aspire to become a professional photographer?
Communities. I don't know. I used to hold this like KL photography meetup last year and last year.
Ooh, okay.
I haven't done it in a while, but I think that kind of helped a lot of people get to know each other, which was nice. But communities, I don't know. I would honestly just follow people on Instagram. That's how I would do it. I think what I did was I would literally research artists and photographers and people in the industry in KL, the arts industry in KL, and find them on Instagram, follow them, and just figure out what they're doing. And I still do that. I still like watch their stories and I look at I see what they post and the work that they're doing, and I try to figure out what is like, I don't know, the best way to intercept that market or the best way to, gain those kind of clients and stuff. So I think what I would say for like an aspiring photographer would be definitely research the people who are in the industry. reach out to them, see if they need a photographer or like an assistant for the shoots and stuff, or or like internships. Obviously, super important,
Okay.
which is super. I know this is not communities per se, but I don't know any communities that like to be a part of. I guess there is like there's all those Facebook groups where there's like photographers and Malaysian photographers.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, let me just quickly go. Hold on. There's a group that I'm in, and it's like Portrait Photography Malaysia or something like that. And I guess that's a good way to find out who some of the photographers are.
Mm-hmm.
But there is no actual, from my knowledge at least, there's no actual like community for artists and photographers.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like a good thing to do is to frequent like Zongshan building, like the Zongshan building, or to frequent like Rexcale, or to frequent like the galleries, you know. And I guess if you go to those places, you end up meeting gallerists and curators, and you end up meeting the artists who do have residencies in Zongshan, and you meet the owners of like Rexcale and stuff, and they're very artsy. And then I think that's how you kind of gain access into those communities.
Yeah.
Okay?
They'll
Obviously,
basically help you out, right?
Yeah. And then going to these arts events and stuff, because a lot of artists do go to these events, and you start having conversations with them, and then you realize who they are and what they do. And then I think that's how you get into those communities in a way. So it's there's not necessarily like a name for each community. I think it's just like groups of people in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, what I'm getting from you is that virtual session is just as good, and especially during these kind of times, you can always access that social media. Just do your research, try to connect with people way there, and it's very much doable. Like, people underestimate the power of social media and connecting. So yeah, I get that. I totally get that.
I think, but also like if you do reach out to someone on social media, like do remember, if they don't reply, it doesn't mean they're being rude. It's just some people don't have the energy to reply, or they get so many requests and they forget to reply. Like I know I have had people like message me to assist me, and I just haven't replied because I haven't had the time, or I just forget. And like I just don't work well with assistants, because I like doing everything myself, and I just don't like other people doing it for me, and I don't know how to tell people that. So yeah, it's great. Social media is great. You reach out to people, just don't get upset if they don't reply.
Right. Okay, for those of you, okay, Adam, go ahead.
Throughout your journey, Daniel, what is the best memory that you could share with us?
Don't know. Oh my god. What
Can you
is the
just
best?
pick one? I guess one of the highlights. One. You get to work with somebody that probably is your idol. I don't know. Maybe.
Okay, last year I finished a project that was based on the emotions that I felt when my mom passed away. And I had an exhibition. It's okay. It's okay. And I had an exhibition for all the photos, and it was at APW in Bangsa, and we were raising funds for Cancer Research Malaysia. It was basically an auction, and it was just a nice evening, and then Ben had loads of connected with so many of my mom's old friends, and my dad came, and my dad's friends came, and my friends came, and it was just really nice to see everyone there together. And we ended up raising like 23,000 ringgit for Cancer Research, and that was just a really proud moment.
Oh wow!
Very personal and emotional, and like also just it was just a nice night, you know.
Yeah,
I think that was definitely like a highlight, because I did everything myself, and I put everything together myself, and I got all the sponsors together for myself. Like I think I just did everything myself, and I think I showed myself that I was able to do, or able to kind of like function as a person properly, even though like a large part of me was not around. Yeah,
it's good to hear.
Yeah, that's a very significant yet heartfelt moment for you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So
guys, there you have it, the master photographer here with us, Daniel Adams. Such great insights for those of you who really would like to appreciate some of more of his works that are not gonna be. Obviously, we're not gonna feature everything on We Are KreARTif, but you guys check it out at Daniel Adams Photography. All right. Any parting
Hell
words,
yeah.
Daniel?
Cool. I guess if I mean to be fair, okay, if and I do say that I don't reply to some people, but like if anyone does have any questions or anything, my DM's always open. And I promise I do reply as well as I can.
He's giving all his best, guys. You better appreciate him. He's giving his best out there.